In this video, we'll be going through our latest ADA for Finance demonstration. Whilst this demo will be based on financials data, please note the features you'll see can apply to just about any use case, including HR, procurement, and sales. Just for your reference, here's the full list of features that we'll be showing off during the demo. Right, let's start with some basic features. So we'll ask a question, change a question, apply some filters, and then try a drill down. So our first question, show me the sales in each region. And you'll see here that ADA will automatically apply a filter for the current year. Once we've got the results, what we're doing here is we are changing the question. So we're asking ADA to now include the division column and also show the results on a pivot. And we can apply filters. So here we're just applying a simple filter for Europe and Asia. Once the results come back, we'll show how you can interact with the tables and charts on display. So now we're going to click on the number for retail in Europe, and we're going to ask to see a profit and loss report. So with ADA, we can do things like drill down a hierarchy, we can drill through to a different report, and we can also request for all the underlying transactions. But here, as you can see, we've asked for an interactive P&L report. Let's now have a look at a comparison query. First of all, I'm going to ask for that P&L report again. It's just to show you how we can either drill down to a query, or we can also ask the query from scratch. So here we're asking, show me a P&L for Europe and retail, and we'll get exactly the same report coming back. Now let's say we want to do a comparison. Here we have the P&L for 2025, but I want to compare it with 2024. So I've asked the question, compare with 2024 and show diff or difference. And we'll see here a nice visual where we get columns for 2025, 2024, and also the difference. And you can see that we can expand and collapse through the numbers. We can also do a slightly different comparison query. Instead of 2024, we could compare with our forecast numbers or budget numbers and also show the variances. And because I've said variances, we'll see the variance as a whole number, but also as a percentage. And there you go. And we can, as before, expand and collapse through the numbers. Let's have a look at a couple more AI features here. So obviously there's lots of numbers on a P&L report. So what I'm asking here is, please summarize this P&L in 5 bullet points for my CEO. And there we go, very conveniently 5 bullet points there as a summary. We can also do some what if analysis. So I'm going to ask ADA to let me know what happens to net profit if we increase wages by 10%. What we'll see is if we just expand into the table, we'll see underneath expenses, we have an account there, gross wages. So what's going to happen is ADA is going to work with that number and recalculate net profit based on that gross wages number going up by 10%. And there we are. We can see the net profit will reduce by $64,000. So here's a couple of really smart features that enable users to tailor their whole experience in the solution. So I'm going to ask a simple question, show me a trend of revenue. And this by default will show a monthly trend of revenue for the current year. But let's say I didn't want that. I'm going to tell ADA I wanted that quarterly. So first of all, ADA will rerun the query and will now show the results by quarter. But in addition, you'll see that we've also had a user preference automatically created for me. The user wanted a quarterly trend instead of a monthly trend. And I can even make that preference permanent so that it takes effect in all my future ADA sessions. So what I'm doing here is I've started a new session and I'm now asking the same question again, show me a trend of revenue. And you'll see that because of my preference, ADA will now show that by quarter rather than by month. In this next example, I'm saying whenever I say CapEx, it means expenses. So again here, ADA will automatically create me a preference. And we can see here, whenever the user says CapEx, it means expenses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a new query, show me a trend of CapEx, and you'll see now both my preferences will take effect. We'll see a trend of expenses and we'll see the trend by quarter. And there we go. I'll just delete both preferences here to continue on with the rest of the demo. In this next section, we're going to be analyzing our profit. And we'll start with a simple question. Show me a trend of profit for retail in 2025. Now, what we'll see here is that I've used an ambiguous term. Profit could mean a number of different things. So ADA automatically pops up a list and asks us to clarify exactly what we mean. So there we go, I've specified net profit. So there's our trend, and we can see that 1 month in particular there, November, has negative profit. So we're going to ask the question, why was net profit worse in 2025-11? So ADA will now go away and actually run an analysis that involves all the metrics that make up net profit, and will analyze for us the reasons why in November in particular profit was down. And we can see here just at a high level, net profit was negatively impacted by a significant increase in expenses. So let's ask about those expenses. Were there any unusual expenses in November 2025? So ADA will now perform some outlier stroke anomaly detection here, and she'll do this by analyzing all the expenses for the year broken down by account, and then will tell us if there's anything unusual in November. And as we can see here, yes, there's a significant spike in hotel expenses. So now I might want to investigate those hotel expenses in a bit more detail. And what I'm going to do here is very simply, I'm saying download me all the expenses for hotels in 2025-11 so that I can investigate them in more detail. And I want all transactional details for those underlying records. And there we go. I now have a CSV that allows me to investigate those hotel expenses in more detail. In this final section, we'll take a further look at ADA's ability to perform follow-up analysis. Now, obviously, we can ask straightforward questions like how much have we made in each division this year? But in this case, what we want to do is we want to know what the projection is for 2026. So we're asking ADA here, give me a projection of revenue for each division in 2026. And she actually calculates the projection by running a trend, a yearly trend for each division. And then when the results come back, she then uses that information to perform the final projection, which you can see here. We can also do correlations. So what we're asking here is, we're asking ADA to go back 3 years and tell us which months are the best for sales in each division. So she'll construct a trend going back 3 years, and then we'll use the information returned to tell us what the correlations are. So we can see, for example, for the commercial division, January is the best month. And then finally, we can do ratios. So this is a good example where our underlying analytics platform doesn't have a ratio calculation, but ADA can calculate it from running a data query. So she runs the data query to get the revenue and expenses for each division, and then can use that information as a follow-up step to calculate the final ratios. Thanks very much for watching. Please get in touch if you'd like to know any more about our ADA solution or any of our services at TPX Impact.